you can hear me. We were on mute till now. So with this, I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar today, which we're going to discuss the SEO strategies that will prevail in 2018. And this is co-hosted with SEMRush. Most of you would be familiar with them as an expert with SEO and SEM tools. So we have an awesome group of presenters today. We have Apurva Chamaria, who's a VP and Head Corporate Marketing from HCL. Rajiv Kondal, who is the Director Digital Marketing and Customer Acquisition from Ibibo, and which is a RedBus Division. And also Deborah Masteller, who's the Corporate Speaker from SEMRush and is a noted expert in the SEO, SEM, and link building space. So we have an awesome panel of experts, and how we're going to do this is that I'm going to introduce our speakers, and then they're going to take over and present from their end. We would request all of you to be on mute while the presenters are presenting. And if you have any questions for them, just put it into the chat window. And I just want to set the context that SEO is a huge space, and it's also a rapidly evolving space. I know many of you would have questions about, how do we use SEO, SEM as a tool to grow our business? And also what happens when voice search becomes far more prevalent? What about the latest Google algorithms? And what about omnichannel content? How do you track conversion, attribution? So these are all topics that anyone in marketing is typically interested in. And what I thought is we would take a high-level view and talk about what we think will be the big trends in 2018. So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Apurva Chamaria from HCL Technologies. And over to you, Apurva.
Thank you, Jesse, Paul Reiter and the SEMRush team. And thank you to the audience for joining in. This is Apurva Chamaria. And I'm now going to be sharing my slides and then talk you through some of the latest trends and hacks which could possibly help you. So, Jesse, I think Paul Reiter will need to stop sharing the screen so that I can. That features that show up for your keywords. In this case, you would see featured snippet. For example, this is very, very quick win where you have an opportunity to rank above #1 in organic result. This is popularly referred to as rank 0, and tools such as SEO Pause or SEO Clarity can help you in identifying keyword opportunities where you can rank in featured snippets. You can also choose to create Q&A pages and optimize them for queries that seek answers. Another way of doing it is embedding relevant images on the page to bundle together in search snippet. This increases traffic and improves CTR. And when you go to HCL Tech, you can see a very good example of this being done. People also ask is an important feature which you should leverage. This helps users find question that appears on searches. So what we have done at HCL Tech is we have created a FAQ list on our site, which helps us rank. The third important is number 10, related searches. This includes brand name with keywords and content like 3M chemical goggles. Using this helps you rank on non-branded searches as well. This encourages people to search your brand using embedded searches. The idea basically is to tell customers, hey, if you want to search this, learn more about 3M goggles, don't just take our word for it. Let's move to some more interesting hacks now after we've seen the trends. So schema and structured data is the protocol that helps Google understand our content better. All search features use schema signals from our website code. So it's very important to identify important schema related to your content and implement it on your website to leverage search features. This is a very, very simple hack to drive more clicks and improve the CTR. Voice search, and Jesse referred to it in her introduction, is very, very important. So I was reading a research by Hitwise, which says that in developed markets, nearly 60% of searches are now performed on mobile. And why this is very important is mobile is very, very conducive to voice. Now, some of the ways in which you can optimize voice search is get into Google My Business, with an estimated of 22% people now searching for local content and information. Local businesses and agencies which specialize in doing local search need to, of course, start optimizing for local search. You can find conversational keywords, again, create FAQ pages. You can also use structured data markup after applying the correct schema to give these voice search devices even more information about your site and content. Uh, my reading is Microsoft Cortana will also come up with the consumer version. Alexa will also become more prevalent. Not to mention a lot of wearables moving towards being voice activated. So voice search is something which SEO architects should start thinking about very carefully. Let's talk about mobile first, right? Google currently uses desktop site index to index your website. But what is changing? What is changing is Google will begin to index and rank your site based on the content on your mobile experience and not your desktop experience as it used to do historically. Most SEO thinkers think this will start happening sometime in 2018 globally. What you should do is, of course, go responsive. AMPs and PWAs are the future. So if your site is not AMP and if your apps are not PWA, you should rethink about it. Speed is critical, and there are a lot of tools, including one which Google has, which is Think with Google Mobile Test, which tells you what is the load speed. You should review smartphone errors in Google Search Console to continuously make improvements. And finally, content that exists within tabs and accordion menus are no longer being discounted. So even that is being considered. Let's talk about content. So content has always been the holy grail of SEO. What is changing on content is video. So there was a recent survey by Cisco which basically said online video will account for 80% of the online traffic by 2021. Another survey by HubSpot states that 43% people want to see more video content. And this is really, really fantastic. So it's a great way to really, really dominate SEO. Some of the tips you can take advantage while thinking about video SEO is tap into YouTube. When you're creating new videos or optimizing existing videos, make sure you embed video content on text-based blog pages. Mark the videos with schema code. This gives you a chance to featured results. And don't forget that 55% of all Google search results now at least contain one video, right? So it is very, very important. And I was at a Google for India event where Google announced that they're linking all 7 Google properties, which account for more than $1 billion in revenue, to now show you the customer journey from search to YouTube to Android. So you should figure out how to leverage it. Curated content has been very important, but what really happens is once you start a blog, most people start only worrying about content they are creating. You can also use curated content by pulling in RSS feeds. You will provide tremendous value to your current visitors. Make sure that if you're sourcing any unoriginal content on your website, you do or do not follow. Visual content is very important. Use embeddable images on the site. Embeddable images are images that are very easy for other sites to embed into their content. And as soon as they do it, they will usually link back to you. So you can also add infographics. And what we've seen with infographics is a lot of other sites end up using it from your site, which is fantastic. On content distribution, there was a recent Moz survey where top SEO experts cited page-level social metrics in the top 10 ranking factors. You can put a lot of time and effort into creating your content, but actually giving it a chance to produce your return on investment happens only when you amplify it. And again, these slides will be shared by Paul Reiter experts with you. So this also talks about how do you distribute content at scale. One of the ways is basically repurposing your content into several formats, which includes videos, infographics, SlideShare, and then publishing the same across your own blogs, LinkedIn, Medium, answering questions on Quora, and embedding the blog as a part of the question answer. You can also use influencers to amplify your blog. Now let's talk about what are the changes which we are expecting to happen in 2018 and how should you prepare for it. As per my view, there are three major algorithmic changes that will impact organic search. The first is Google RankBrain. It's already there, but it is expected to mature even more to learn about user intent and experience on websites for different search queries. You know how long tail keywords and discrete keywords sets are sorted to find relevant pages is one of the key elements of RankBrain AI system. We all know that Google processes over 3 billion searches per day, but what is less known is 15% of those queries have never been seen before, and 70% have not been seen in that order. RankBrain is basically designed to help better interpret these queries and effectively transmit them behind the scenes in a way so that the searcher finds what they are looking for even without knowing the right search words. The second is mobile first index. AWAs and PWAs will be very, very important for mobile SEO. So please make sure that you're going mobile and ensuring that your site loads fast. AMP also gives your platform to make your page load lightning faster. So we went completely AMP a couple of years ago. I would say 2.5 years ago, and we've seen phenomenal results. PWA can give you an app-like experience. If you combine both, you definitely have an edge. Third thing, in India, I still see a lot of sites which are not secure. So HTTPS or secure sites have already been given preference by Google in rankings. And at least my expectation is in 2018, it would be almost like if you don't have a HTTPS, Google is going to penalize you. Last couple of things before I pass over the panel back to Jesse. When you are actually thinking about backlinking techniques, which is bread and butter for SEO, there are a couple of other hacks you can use. Get onto podcast. Podcasts are one of our favorite ways to build links. It's like guest posting. So just show up, provide value, and you often get a sweet backlink back. Create questions and participate in sites like Quora. Quora is a great backdoor hack into SEO and regarded very highly by Google. Use link opportunity tool in SEO Moz to find citations of your business with no backlinks. You can then easily reach out to such websites and put a backlink. And finally, I think we all are learners in digital marketing. So it's very, very important to not get carried away and continuously study your competition, find out which are the sites which rank higher on SERPs and what are the styles they are adopting. And you can all use tools like SimilarWeb to find competition data, look at what competition is doing, and that really helps. You can also use tools like Help a Reporter Out or Harrow. For some of you who are not familiar with Harrow, it's one of the best ways to get publicity and media attention. It's a great place to harvest sourced quotes for your own blogging efforts. At the same time, if you offer quotes from yourself or your senior leaders for backlinks, it will get you many earned media appearances. You can also barter, which a lot of SEOs do. These are some of the latest thoughts on SEO from my side. Back to Jesse.
Thanks, Apurva. There are lots and lots of questions for you. So if you could, look at chat and, reply to some of those where they're waiting for an answer. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think it was
I'll
very
start doing that.
insightful, and you do have, yeah, thank you so much. Our next speaker is Deborah Taylor, and she's actually been in the SEO link space since 2001, and is very, very deeply well known in the content outreach SEO space. So we're very lucky to have her as a speaker today, and I'd like to hand over the floor to her now. Over to you, Deborah. Deborah, are you able to take over? Yeah, great.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but I can't see your deck.
You can't see my deck. Well. Tell me, how about now?
Yes, it's coming up. Awesome.
Oh,
done.
Can you see it now? You got it?
Yes.
Yay, thank you. I'm sorry. So let me start over. I am Deborah Masteller. I'm with the corporate speaking team at SEMRush. And prior to that, for about 17 years, I had a link building company that I worked full-time. I had, staff and whatnot. I like the SEMRush tool so much that I decided to go and work for them and cut back on my agency. So I've had a lot of experience with link building, and prior to that, I worked for a large marketing company. So I've been around with that for quite some time. I am trying to advance my slide deck, which I'm not able to do. There we go. Yeah. So my topic today is talking about link building going into 2018, and I have 10 slides to share. I want to say that for the most part, when I talk with people and work with people when it comes to link building, most of the time we have to start on a plane where we have to make people comfortable. People get a little bit nervous about link building because of some of the changes that have been made to Google. And while going into 2018, we know it's going to be difficult because of the new index that's coming. What's going to be even more difficult is the fact that the use of mobile devices is going to continue to be prominent in everyone's day-to-day life. And what that does is, with more people on mobile, less people are on desktop. And when less people are on desktop, that means less people are linking out. It's kind of hard to link from a mobile device. As I'm fond of saying, it's easier to peel a grape than it is to link on your smartphone. So what we're seeing now, even now, we're seeing less and less people linking. So linking is becoming more and more valuable because less people are doing it. So what I wanted to go through today is to show you, keeping in mind that we live in a mobile society, that's not going to change. That's going to get even bigger. And on top of that, with voice search coming, less people will even look at a screen. They're going to be listening to their answers. So as link builders and SEOs, we're challenged to be able to get over that hump and find ways to get people to link to our content and to take a look at it. So here are my 10 ways that I thought that I would share with you about how to do that, how to get over that hump. So my tactic number one is about using the media. In my previous job as a link builder, and then prior to that, I worked with the media. I worked with journalists and newspapers pretty much on a daily basis. That was kind of the voice of the company that I worked for. If we look at it from India's standpoint, news outlets are one of the major things that people look at on their mobile devices. 84% of your population in India looks at a news site every day. That's pretty standard for everyone in the world, not just India. We've done a lot of studies to show that the first three things you look at on your phone when you get up in the morning is typically the weather, the news, and Facebook. So knowing this and knowing that the population online is looking at news sites, it makes an awful lot of sense that you're going to try to get content and create relationships with newspapers and magazines so that you can get your content on the links going. Just a second ago, we were hearing about HARO, which is Help a Reporter Out. And I do think that HARO is a great news publication. But I also want to show you something in just a second. There are other ways to find reporters as well that don't involve using sites that everyone else is looking at. Before you can find a reporter, you need to know what kind of turns them on. You know, reporters love statistics. Reporters love rebuttals, and they like funny stuff. Monday through Friday, the world operates. Banks are open, stock markets are open, you know, politicians politic. But come Saturday and Sunday, there's a lot of downtime, and news stories still need to be filled on the weekend. Try in the beginning, especially if you are a non-technical niche, to create what we call weekend filler. Even if you are a technical niche or you have a banking background or software background, you can still create filler content for the weekends that journalists will love. Pitch it to them exclusively. Before you go public with your content, pitch it to the reporters. Small newspapers have a tendency to draw from bigger papers. If you've ever noticed some of the big publications like the Wall Street Journal or your biggest newspapers, what is published in those papers filters down into the smaller newspapers and your more regional newspapers. So you want to look to try to get into the bigger publications in the magazines. I highly recommend that you stay away from massive press release submission sites. Google is really down on these. And what you want to do is fax your information directly to the reporters and the newspapers and the magazines through their fax numbers. And typically all sites have them on there. Now we were talking about HARO just a second, and here's one I want to show you my little tip about finding reporters. Reporters on HARO, though, one of the issues with using HARO is that everybody sees it. You're not the only person that gets the notification about Help a Reporter Out or some of the other sites. And so you have to be very quick and Johnny on the spot, if you will, to get into a HARO reporter. Instead, I like to cultivate reporters. And one way, and I think the best way to do this, is to get on LinkedIn. There is a contributor profile on LinkedIn that you can go to and type in what you're looking for. In this particular case, I was looking for reporters that were working on Indian newspapers that I mentioned just a minute ago. And this is what came up in green. What I have highlighted in green boxes, these men and women work for the newspaper directly. And that's great. I would try to establish a relationship with them. I would try to go to them and get them so that I could get my news straight into their hands. For the most part, if you have good stories and you have good information coming, they'll take it. But the gold here, the real hot part, is the one in red. And the red are freelancers, and these are freelancers that have worked for those papers in the past. And so why is that so hot? Well, freelancers don't get paid until the story goes into the newspaper. So you want to go after people who have already written for those papers because they have the relationships made, and it's in their best interest to get your content shared. So look for both the freelancers and look for the already employed reporters. My third tactic going forward for next year is called co-occurring links. Co-occurring links happen behind websites that are ranking. So in this particular case, I use Big Bazaar, Shopper Stop, and Marks and Spencer. There are 3 big department stores. I looked at the backlinks that are behind each one of them. And what this tool will do, a co-occurring tool will do, is it will pull out the same backlinks linking to all 3 sites. So why is that important? Well, for number 1, 2, 3, 4, top 10 behind those sites, or why those pages are ranking the way that they are. So what you want to do, web pages that are ranking whatever term that you're looking for, and you want to go after the same. If you're using another tool, really what you're looking to find the link links that are pointing, the same links that are pointing at all of the pages that are already ranking. You want to work to get those links. You want to continue to move up in the search engine results. You'll need to continue to get links, but this is a really good way to get started and understand how your competitors are ranking for their pages so that you can do the same. Number 4. Best when it comes to content. And in this case, infographics out in the world, the cyber world, if you've noticed on Twitter and the other social networks, are uses of the little GIF. So this guy, and I am sorry, I don't know why in my content isn't working here, but GIFs are animated images. If you take that concept and put it into an infographic, and the entire infographic then becomes the GIF. You don't see that very often, and it's very trendy. We've been noticing it coming out a little bit in some of the bigger public relations houses and ad agencies, say in New York City and in London. So this is definitely a trend that is moving, is embedding GIFs in your infographic overall. So the entire infographic is moving, is animated as well. Again, what you're doing here is you're trying to find something that hasn't been done before, something that's trendy. You put that in front of journalists and put that in front of your audience, because that will obtain more links. Little part 2 of my tactic number 4 when it comes to content. You always want to try to offer an exclusive to journalists, but add an email capture and a bookmarking to all of your content. With more and more people on their mobile devices, they're going to want to save content to go back to and look at and share later, or they want to send it to an email list that they can read that later as well. You're also trying to capture as many email addresses as you can. The more email addresses that you capture, the larger your base grows. And instead of working doubly hard to get your content seen by an audience, if you have an email list you can send the content to and passively ask for a link, you'll generate more links that way in the end. So grow your email list by adding sign-up boxes to everything, and make sure you keep cultivating that email list as you go on. Number 5, as a link builder for 17 years, my number 1 tactic was writing reviews. This is almost a slam dunk every time that we did it in a link attraction situation. So there are 2 types of reviews, and the first one, they're reviews that you write. So you take something and you review the product in and out. You have to write it really, really well, has lots of images to it. Longer reviews tend to do well. Reviews that are done on YouTube, even if it's only the introduction to the review, put on YouTube. All of these things behind writing reviews on products that you take and you write on is what this tactic is about. So what really makes this stand out here is the title, because you have to have it written. The item here was a Surface Pro, but what really made this review pop was the most massively improved Surface yet. So you had a tagline under the title. Just make sure your titles are really, really awesome and out there so that they're gaining a lot of attention. When you do reviews like this, fax them directly into your journalists. Journalists love to have scoops on reviews, especially if you're someone who does a lot of reviews. And if you're not, don't despair, just start. Because people want to hear from people. They trust reviews and they trust what other people say about them more so than they hear it coming from a company. So just get started writing on your reviews. I also used to buy a lot of Facebook ads just to promote these things, and it kind of got the ball rolling. But this used to be the number 1 link attraction tactic that I had, was writing reviews yourself. The flip side of that, tactic number 6, is using reviews that other people write. Okay, so what I would do in this is I'd go into the SERPs and I would look for something that was a couple of years old. In this case, it was the review of a camera that was done in 2012. I'd look for the older reviews and I would backlink them And the one in my example here is 667 backlinks, which means it was a very popular review, but it should be. It's been around for a little bit of time. I would then take that review and update it, take that camera. The camera will have changed, and that's okay. You can show that in the content as you write it. You can show the growth of that individual piece of equipment that you're using, or you can write a comparison piece if it's within 6 months to a year. In the case of what I have here, we did a comparison piece and then sent out the comparison piece to the backlinks that were the sites that were linking to the review that was written in 2012. We picked up hundreds of reviews because it was something new and it was updated from what had been done. So reviews that you write, you can promote, and then using reviews that other people write. They've already done the basic work for you. What you're doing is coming in behind them and you're updating it, and then using the links, there are established links to send your content to reviews. Tactic number 7, roundups. I'm sure you've seen these at the end of the week or maybe the end of the month. Somebody will publish a roundup of all of the content that's been written on a particular subject in your niche. They're out there in every single niche that you can imagine. In this particular case, my example is from an accounting niche. Most of the time in SEO, sadly, we tend to use other SEO companies as our examples, and I tried not to do that here. And this is a particular, a great example of that. This is the accounting niche that had link roundups. I have seen them in everything from apples to zucchini. I have seen roundups. So find them, set the alerts for them using Google Alerts or TalkWalker, and let all the content come to you. I could spend hours and hours looking for sites. You don't have to. Let the sites come to you. Brand mentions and keyword mentions. This was brought up in the previous presentation as well. I just kind of want to take it and bump it up a notch, if you will. Most of the time, the advice that we hear from link builders is to set alerts for your brand name or for mentions of your brand. The thing is, though, is that most of us are not a brand. Most of us have small to medium-sized websites, and we don't have that luxury. Not yet, right? We're getting there, but not yet. So what we do instead is to take that concept and bump it up for your keywords. There are keywords that people publish in their articles or in their news sites that we can go after. When people do that, what we'll do is set the alerts. And in SEMRush's case, we have a brand monitoring tool that does the exact same thing. It brings back all of the mentions of either our brand or of our keywords so that we can look to those sources and offer them images, statistics, we can offer them videos, we can offer them quotes to go into their articles or future articles based on the keyword. So what we're doing is we're really looking for sources here. And that's the name of the game with link building in 2018, or in any year for that matter. We've got to find sources that are hosting content using our keywords, because those keywords attract the audience that we're looking for. So this is what we're looking for here with brand names. Take that concept and just kick out the brand name and put in your keywords, and keep coming back all of those articles that are mentioning your keywords, and offer them something in return so that they add a link back into the article, or they write a new article using your quotes, your statistics, your case studies, and so forth. Of course, if you do find somebody that's using your brand name and not linking to you, you can ask them for credit, ask them to link back. For the most part, though, you're going to find that people won't always make those changes, but you can create then and know that you have someone writing on those particular topics or your brand, and develop a relationship there to create some content together and move forward. Always make it a positive experience when you find that stuff and not a negative. Tactic number 9. This is what we call updating content for links. You've seen these, the best of. Those are those articles that start with the best of, the top 5, and then they add a year. So the best small business accounting software of 2017. You'll have to go through those using all of your keywords, people that have written articles and sources that have hosted articles using old years and update it for this year, for going into 2018. Rewrite the content, make it a little better. Add some images, add some video if you have it, and then pitch it back to the source so that they host your content, linking to your site instead of what they had. My last tactic is probably the one that I want to make the most noise about, because I think it's probably the most important one going forward. And as I really would stress to everyone to lessen their dependency on Google. I understand that Google has an 83% usage rate in the world. 83% of the people who sit down on a machine and type a question into a search box are doing it on Google, and I understand that. But at some point in time, we need to not depend. You should never put all your eggs in one basket, and it goes for Google as well. With mobile going the way it is, we need to find other sources. We need to find other communities and other outlets that you can create and develop relationships with and build communities so that you can build links and you can build market share. I've listed some here that are in every single type of niche that you can think of. The ones in red are kind of one that everybody can belong to, regardless of what your niche. But I would really, really encourage you to find a community and get involved with it. Meet the influencers, build your brand, build your email base with very, very little effort. And I just think that that's really, really smart. Let's wrap this up. So content trends. Use trendy content because, you know, clicks show, links help get you ranked, but clicks show that you deserve to be there. And you need to keep that in mind because that reinforces the basic algorithm. You also want to push yourself forward with the news media. Smart content. Create content that people are looking for. Typically, going into the first of the year, the first 2 quarters of the year, people want updated content. So look for what's been dated, look what's been done in the past, and update it and relaunch it. Your traditional media people, try to get into it. That's where people are reading your newspapers. That's where you want to go. LinkedIn, I think, is the best place for that. And if you can, break the Google habit. It's just not a good idea to have so much dependency on one site to be sending all of your traffic. You want to spread the wealth. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. There were some questions for you, Deborah. So if you could address them in the chat window, that would be awesome. There was also a general question on the role of SEO as we go forward. So maybe you can tackle that one as well. So thank you so much for a very insightful presentation. And next we have Rajiv Kondal, who again has been doing this for many, many years in different roles and is an acknowledged expert in the space. And he's with Ibibo and the RedBus Division. Many of you may have heard him speak at other events, and we're very privileged to have him here today. So over to you, Rajiv, if you could share your deck now. Yes, Rajiv, we can see your deck. And we can't hear you yet, though. Rajiv still can't hear you.
Hello? Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sorry. So hi guys, I'm Rajiv Kondal, Digital Marketing Director for RedBus. And I think like a very good sessions from Apurva and Deborah. Apurva covered most of the points for the trends. So I'll be taking just top 5 SEO trends to watch out for. And my idea would be to give you more practical aspect from it, from brand perspective or company's perspective. So let's get started. So the top 5 SEO trends which I'm going to cover. The first one is voice search and digital assistants. Second one is mobile first indexing and AMP pages. Third is position zero or featured snippets. Fourth is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And the last one is UX for SEO. So let's delve into first one. So as all of you know that voice searches are getting now prominence in Google search results. Approximately 1 out of every 5 searches is already a voice search. And if you think about it, it's very natural. And because the thing is, like, the generation is moving, right? So what it means is that essentially the earlier internet users were basically coming from desktop to your mobile devices. And the natural input medium for them was text. But the new user, the teenagers who are hopping onto the mobile devices, for them, they're discovering the net through voice. So for example, in WhatsApp, 37% of the messages right now are voice messages. So all of us understand the concept, but how do we actually bring it to the execution part? So the example which I've shown here, which is like a very natural query for a bus goer. Because if you look in conventional SEO, then you will type something like book online ticket from Chennai to Bangalore, right? But if you actually are looking for a natural way of person, how he actually tries to search for it, they typically start with the bus timing. So something like what time bus goes from Chennai to Bangalore. And for that, there are multiple things you can do, right? So for example, in RedBus, we have actually introduced like markups and question and answer formats, which particularly target this. And if you want to know like which basically LSI keywords to go for, or which long tail keywords you're looking for, or what are the people asking for, a starting point, a very basic starting point is you type your money keywords into the search box for the Google, and at the bottom of the page, bottom of the searches, you will see something like people also ask or people also searched for. So that's where you will be should pick up most of your LSI stuff. In addition to that tools, there are wonderful tools out there which you can use to discover these. But this is like very easy way to get started into this. And this is also reflective of Google's current index, what is popular on Google. So rather than hypotheticating it by basically giving different context, this is direct from horse's mouth. So, and of course, like Allo, Siri, Alexa, Cortana, all of them are coming up, and the landscape is going to change in 2018. Moving to the next topic. So the second topic which I want to talk about is mobile first indexing and AMP pages. Again, so the conventionally, Google has been always desktop first. So what it means is in SEO, fundamentally the canonical pointing is considering desktop first, and all other properties, whether it's your mobile, whether it's your AMP pages, or even if it's your app, you are basically considering desktop as a primary property. And Google was using pretty much same algorithm to rank even your mobile site. This is going to change in 2018. Most of the experts feel that this is going to change completely. So which means that Google will actually prioritize mobile first indexing, which means that the crawler will actually come to your mobile first, which means definitely in terms of tech, you need to change your canonicals and your basically alt tags to cater for this. And second thing is that if your mobile web version is not equivalent of desktop, if it's a subset of desktop, then your rankings can suffer. The best way out is, of course, to have basically responsive, so that basically there is a technical equivalence between your desktop and mob web. But if that's not the case, then basically try to ramp up your mob web to have similar SEO technical structure as your desktop, because this is going to happen soon. Second thing is, like, AMP pages are getting traction. We have seen it firsthand, as you can see on the right hand side. So if you are typing for the keyword, say bus hire daily, the AMP pages are getting priority in that. So, and if you can see that sign of lightning or flash, whatever you want to call it, kind of highlights the AMP pages, and you will see this commonly trending in most of the topics on the mob web, provided your page quality is good. But again, it has its challenges, so it's not very straightforward. Especially, it has to deal with something as tail inventory in the travel industry. So if I have real live inventory, which keeps on changing, for whether it's for buses or flights, then basically it's very, very tough to create AMP pages. So it has to be a mixed decision between like Are you willing to live with the stale inventory or stale page? Or basically the nature of your page does not require real-time content. So those are the decisions which you need to take. But yes, site speed is here to make the difference. And actually it has been clearly indicated in Google results that Google is giving a lot of value to the site speed and also how engaging your users are finding you. The third topic I'd like to cover here is basically the knowledge graphs. And as Apurva also mentioned, zero ranking. So basically, we also call it position zero among ourselves. So there is like a very clear case study that since the introduction of featured snippets, there is a 37% decrease in conventional organic listing CTRs. What does this mean for an SEO expert, right? Does it mean that we give up on SEO? Answer is no. The thing is, we need to review basically how we go about our SEO strategy. We need to aim for position zero because this is the space for the major brands. And how basically you go about that is you try to, again, think in terms of topics. Stop thinking about keywords. Think in terms of topics. And age-old saying, but will apply in 2018 also. If you're creating something useful for user, Google is going to value that. So in this example, as you can see that a lot of people are searching for bus timings in Google. So what we did was actually create a timetable around the first basic buses and what's the duration for that travel, which actually helped us started featuring in snippets. So it's not something like you're just targeting for snippets. You have to think in terms of like what user needs. So if you have a right combination, then you will turn up in snippets as well. The fourth topic is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And everybody's talking about Google Rank Brand. And the question is like, can you optimize for Rank Brand? So are there any hacks around that? Personally, I don't feel so because I think it's a very intelligent algorithm, but still there is a softer approach to this, how you can rank. Again, going back to the basics, stop thinking about keywords, start thinking about topics, combine the visual elements, combine the video elements, combine the news elements, and try to see how basically Google value them. And one of the important things which has happened, especially in Indian search landscape, is that Indic languages have arrived on the scene. So Google can not only listen to what you are speaking in Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, it can interpret it very intelligently. It can interpret your accent also. So earlier the problem was the people with like a Hindi accent or Indian accent, the Google was not able to understand it fully. But now they have advanced algorithm. So even if you're saying something like Tiger Zinda, right? The voice search example which I used, you won't see result for wildlife or tiger. Google can contextualize this. That when you're using Zinda keyword, it's in context with the new movie which is coming up, and it will give you basically knowledge graph around that, whether it's images, whether it's videos, whether it's news results. If you change the same query to tiger alive, it will not give you that because Indian user is not searching for tiger alive. He's searching for tiger Zinda. So basically Google is contextualizing on the basis of user needs. Coming to the fifth topic, which is UX for SEO. It's already critical for your SEO rankings, but I think it will become more important for your 2018 rankings. And there are different factors. There are countless factors which will play a role in that. But again, most of these factors will be around useful engagement, relevance, and time taken to absorb the information. So there are like few UX factors I've listed here. Site speed and faster content load, whether it's with AMP, whether it's your data loading techniques, everything comes into that. Your content should be very, very relevant, qualitative, and informative. Use structured markups, schema orgs, OG graphs, and everything so that Google can understand it. Again, if you're from travel industry, you might struggle with the listing pages, so you can use aggregate rating and reviews for structured markups. Then basically use very easy to easy and simple and effective navigation. And last but not the least, try to have text and images or videos which are meant both for users and search engines. Don't try to develop anything which is just supposed to cater to search engines. That does not work. As long as you're making something useful and relevant for the end user, you will end up getting ranked in Google itself. So I think these are the 5 topics which I wanted to cover. Summarizing that. So 3 things you should cater to in 2018. Think topic. Don't think keywords. Think about topics. Think mobile. Think about position 0. So I think these are the 3 key takeaways from my session, which I would like you to implement in your execution strategy. And I can take up any questions online or offline. You can reach me at this email address. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much, Rajiv. There are a couple of questions for you. So I'm going to ask you to maybe take one of them, because the recurring theme seems to be, how do you accommodate NLP? How do you accommodate voice searches? Where does Google Home Mini fit in?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you could just touch upon that, because that's covering around 3 questions for you.
Sure. So when you are trying to optimize your site for voice search, first of the things which you need to start with is there are 2 things. One thing is basically your LSI keywords, and second thing is your natural language processing. So essentially, you need to find out for your website, your topic, what are the LSI keywords for that. And one of the simple tricks which I told in my earlier slide was that if you type in your money keywords in your Google search, go to the bottom of the search, and there you will find out if basically people have searched for something similar. You will get a very good contextual search map for that. Then you will also get your people also asked for. That is your Q&A format. So if you go to, say, RedBus site, we have actually introduced Q&A section. So there are different way of tackling to voice search. So one thing is for contextualization. One thing which has actually helped in real world for RedBus is that we have 2-3 sections which cater to that. One is Q&A. So simple Q&A related to the bus travel timings, everything like that. Second thing is user is giving a lot of importance to user reviews, actual user reviews. So try to incorporate them, try to structure them into your on-page site content, and you will see that that page will start getting marked up. Third thing is you can use schema.org to have the structured markups around products, entities, ratings, reviews, which will help them surface in the SERP itself, which will actually increase your CTR ranking. So I think that's pretty much it.
Right. One last question for you is, how do social media channels support for SEO?
See, again, like everybody has their own opinion on social media channels, but I think like a couple of things which are there is, especially if you look at the off-page authority factor for the websites. Earlier, it used to be pretty much around the links, or the kind of hrefs you're using, the URL which you're linking to. But now with these knowledge graphs, Google Rank Brain, Google is intelligent enough to actually pick up the mentions of your brand. So even if on the social media, if your brand is getting hashtagged or it's getting promoted without linking back to you directly, it will benefit you.
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. We are actually way over time, so I'm going to wrap up the Q&A session now. And we won't be able to mail you the deck. So if you haven't shared it earlier, you need to send it to Paul right now. And thank you so much for joining us. And we do hope to see you at our next webinar. And thanks to SEMRush for co-hosting this with us. Thanks and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting this. Thank you.